Hello everyone, welcome to the first lecture of Nature Inspired Optimization. So we could see that a lot of lessons can be learned from the nature, especially if you take ants. They don't have a GPS, but yet they go and search for their food. And similarly, the birds, they does not calculate any mathematics, but yet they follow other birds and they flew on the sky in a line or in a shape. Okay, so similarly, you could see such behavior is also observed in bacteria where they don't have any processors, but yet the bacteria were able to adapt to the environment. So we could see that all these natural organisms or natural living beings, they search for food, they adapt to the situation, they navigate, they survive. So can these behaviors teach us how to solve the computational problems? Okay, can we take not all behaviors of such nature organisms or living beings, but can some of the best out of these can be taken to solve the computational problem is the question that we have to ask about, right? And you might have also observed many intelligent behaviors. So another example is the honeybees, how they built a very big honeycomb. They were able to sense where the flowers is. They were able to convey this information to the other honeybees so that the area is filled with honeybees. So you might have also thought about such a intelligent behaviors in nature. So you can have us, you can think about such intelligent behaviors. Now, some of the key observations in nature is the first one is the ant. So you see that ant, suppose you in your kitchen, you find a small sugar particles spelled out. Immediately you will see ants crowded in that area. So how is it possible? And it is also said that ants find the best, shortest path to reach the food. So not everywhere the ants does not randomly move on the walls, on the floors to reach the destination. It very meticulously follow a line to reach the food. So how it is possible? It is possible because of this. There is a small chemical substances that is emitted out of the ants. When an ant go towards a food, it emit that chemical substance, and the shortest path chemical substance is there, the others evaporate. It is said that only the shortest path is there, and except the shortest path, every others evaporates. That's what is told. Okay. So from this, you can understand that the collective behavior of these ants can be applied to any problem where it requires many collective agents together to form a solution to find the shortest path. Similarly, birds. So you see, there is no leader for birds, but yet they actively communicate with the other birds without any clashing among themselves. They beautifully move in the sky. The bees, so you find that wherever there is flowers, wherever there is honey, sources of honey, you find bees there. Similarly, animals also, right? So animals also dynamically it was able to escape the predators, right? So you find out that the climatic changes are first known to the animals, and based on the climatic change, animals migrate to another location. You might have seen in National Geographic Channel the mass migrations of animals. So similarly, the human also, right? So we also learn through experience. We get feedbacks, we get rewards, and if we get a good reward, we follow that. If we get a bad reward, we correct ourselves. So that is what is a human brain, human DNA, chromosomes also tells us. Similarly, plants, there is also some behaviors in plants where plants grow towards light. You might have observed this. So we also need optimization in every day of our life. Okay. So optimization is essential. It is required. It is very much required for our life. So let us take one challenge and find out how optimization is important to us. So for example, you will take this challenge. Okay. So in this challenge, let's say you want to reach home quickly. Okay. These are the different conditions that you have. You want to buy a birthday gift. Okay. and then you have to avoid the traffics, right? And you have to get key vegetables to for your to go to the market to buy vegetables, and then you have to, another condition is you have to spend less than 1,000. Okay, what is the best plan? How can you make the best plan? So, what are the possible solutions from this? You could see that this is your current location. You can go to the mall, from the mall to the food court, then to the market, and then to the home, or to the market, food court, mall, and home. So, you might have seen from this picture that there is a lot of solutions available. So, how will you find which is the best solution? What is the best plan? Suppose the constraint changes, if there is a change in the traffic condition, then will your best solution always remain the best, right? So, what about the timing? If the timing is morning during peak hours, do you think the best solution always remains the best? So you have to consider this, right? So that is where the optimization come into picture. You have to explore various conditions and find out the best optimal solution. So you cannot do it with the human brain. It is very why we cannot do it with the human brain, or why it's not possible with mathematics, is there are many possible solutions. You see the previous example, there are many possible solutions, and there is also a strict constraint. I say you have to reach home quickly, constraint. Okay. And then I said you should not spend more than 1,000, constraint. Okay, so you have a constraint, and then changing condition, the traffic may change. You find, you say this is the best possible route, but at that time the traffic is at the peak, or the traffic, there is no traffic, but you are held up in the market has a very high peak hours. So, in such changing conditions and also conflicting goals, you have to balance between the speed and the cost. You have to reach home quickly. Similarly, you should not spend more. And all these changing, conflicting goals are there for the real world problem. So, in this possible solution, you have to search for the best. Okay, so let's take an example. You might have experiences when you're watching movies in Netflix or Hotstar or your Prime or YouTube. There will be a lot of choices available for you. But say I'm your mom or dad are telling that, hey, come on, I'll give you only 45 minutes for you to see a movie. Okay, then at least not as 30 minutes, 15 minutes you spend in choosing the movie, right? Because the search space is large. Okay, so for example, if the case of a movie, you have to search the movies. In case of the routes, you have to find the best route. In case of a timetable, you might have searched, you might have selected your faculty, you might have selected your timetables recently. So what are the possible solutions? So there are different constraints. The constraints are the classrooms, the teachers. Okay, so now how will you find the best possible combination for all your subjects? Okay, so these are similarly in machine learning. There are different features available. So should I need to take, how can I select the best possible features, which with I'll train a model so that the model gives me the best. So this is a search problem. Okay. So imagine you have 30 features, and 2 to the power of 30 is very large search space. So thus this searching. So all these are very complex problems which cannot be solved by mathematics, which cannot be solved by us humans. So we go for a concept called optimization. I should find out the best route. I should find out the lowest cost. I should maximize the profit. Sometimes you have to minimize it in case shortest route, minimum delay, minimum cost. Sometimes you have to maximize it, the profit, maximum accuracy. You have to profit. Okay. So what is optimization is the process of finding the best possible solution among the available alternatives under the given conditions and constraint. Okay, so sometimes you will have a constraint saying that minimum, I should have minimum, right? Um, so I should have a minimum. Okay, so I say minimum, right? So in the search space, yes, okay, I select X, which belongs to yes, and I should get the minimum of f of x. When I apply that x, it should be minimum. My battery that I spent in my phone should be minimum. Okay. So example, I should find the shortest path. I should find the minimum cost, minimum energy consumption. So sometimes I also expect for maximum in my total possible search space. Okay, so I just select X. Okay, so for example, you imagine this is a total number of routes for you to reach the destination, and you select any one route. And when you apply that one route, your cost should be maximum. For example, your fuel efficiency should be high, right? And your speed should be high, and all those constraints comes into the optimization. So search mechanism is very, very vital in optimization. You're going to search for the best solution. So there are three types of search: analytical search. So analytical search is based on mathematical calculation. It uses the gradient or Hessian data. But what is the problem with analytical searches? You might settle down in a local minimum, or you find out a best solution, but that may not be the best solution in the search space. Yes. Okay. So in a search space, yes, you find out a best solution x1, x2, x3, but maybe there is some other xn which is better than these three. Okay. So you may not be able to find out that in the analytical search. Random is unguided search techniques. Okay, so you explore randomly, or enumeration, you go for a systematic examination one by one. But here it is very exhaustive when you're going for one by one. And heuristic is one which we will be exploring more in this optimization, this subject, which is that problem specific rules. It uses problem specific rules and guide your search. Okay, so this is the best high quality solution. This offers you a high quality solution with a low effort, right? Now, you feel that these are all the techniques why we don't go for the traditional method. It is very large. The search space is very large. It is very complex also sometimes. And it dynamically changes the traffic, example, the traffic, and it is very difficult, right? The real world problems are very difficult. So obviously, I cannot go for the traditional method. So we are seeking the help from the nature, right? We are going to find out how nature can help us to solve those problems. Example like ant colony optimization and swarm intelligence, what we are adopting from the from the brain, we adopt artificial neural network. From physical cooling, we adopted simulated annealing. Then evolution of DNAs and chromosomes, we adopted genetic algorithms. Then collective behavior of ants and birds, we adopted swarm intelligence. And then we go for immune system, artificial immune system, which is used in security systems. Then DNA, we go for DNA-based computing. Then quantum mechanics, quantum computing. Cell membrane, we go for membrane computing. And then local cell interaction, we go for cellular automata. So mostly we see in example, especially in case of ant colony optimization or swarm intelligence, we feel that there is a collective behavior. Okay, so there is a collective behavior. Whenever there is a collective behavior, every time the collective behavior is not peaceful. Okay, so you imagine, we have taken a case of elephants. Elephants live in a group. Okay, they together protect their little ones in a group. But we have also read in the news is that sometimes that also become a conflict between in the group. Okay, they just compete to find the best mate. They also compete to find the best solution. One group competing with the other group. So, cooperation also has a challenge of the competing. So, cooperation, whenever you talk about cooperation, we go for swarm intelligence. The swarm intelligence is inspired by the collective behavior. Okay, so for example, ants, and then you just go for birds. Okay, agent-based computing, biology, economics, multi-agent system uses this swarm intelligence. So we'll see in detail about this in one of your module. And I told you, whenever you are in a group, there will be conflicts as well. So how can you divide, how can you manage the competition is what the game theory, okay, adopts us. Okay, so you can learn how the nature, for example, how one group of elephant protect themselves from the other group. How in a group of lions, one lion group is able to get their prey when the other lion group also compete for it. In that case, you will just learn this concept of game theory. It's used in economics, political sciences, evolutionary biology, and in some fields of computer science as well. So evolutionary computing, okay, evolutionary computing like genetics. The next set of nature inspired. We saw the first set of nature inspired algorithm is swarm intelligence. The second set is the game theory. The third set is evolution. So there is a lot of evolution that happens in the nature, right? So you see that in nature you will have a population, okay. Then what happens? The population will mutate. Okay, the population will mutate, their DNA changes, they recombine, they form a different mutation is happening. Then among that, the best is selected. Okay, the best is selected. Okay, and after so many competition, the best is selected, and then they survive. And then comes you the next generation, right? So you might have also seen many cases, many organisms, living organisms, starting from microorganisms to the living organisms, they all mutate. Okay, they all evolve, right? So evolve in the sense they change themselves to be a better one. We might have seen in many cases to in order to fit to the climate condition, in order to fit to the environment, their DNA changes, they mutate. So that is what we are going to same thing we are going to do it for computation. In computation also, there can be a best solution, there can be variations, then you do the fitness evaluation. The fitted one will just go selected and for the next generation, for mutating the next generation. So the evolutionary computing. So first we saw swarm intelligence, then we saw game theory, and then the next one is the evolutionary computing is one field which the computation has highly adopted its problems. Okay, highly adapted to solve it problems. The next one is the DNA computing. So DNA computing is also, it uses the DNA, RNA enzymes as hardware to perform computational tasks. So you see that the informations are encoded in A, T, C, G. The next class, RF class, is fully we are going to see about this DNA based computing. Okay, genetic computing. So it is also used highly in cryptography, data storage, biomedical diagnosis, nano robotics, and synthetic biology. And the next one field which is booming nowadays is the quantum computing. So you see, quantum computing does not have the concept of binary zeros and ones, but yet it has a concept of qubits. So this was highly influenced by physics, right? So the nature physics. From there, this quantum computing started coming in. People have started producing quantum processors, the principles of superposition, okay, and the mathematical calculation. They are doing wonders now. They do computation is just a fraction of seconds. The speed, right? So it's used in applications like cryptography, drug discovery, optimization, financial modeling, and quantum networking. So what we saw in today's lecture session is there are many real world problem. The real world problem is obviously very large in space. Okay, real world problem, they're very large in space. It is very difficult whenever it comes to a human or a max to solve it is very difficult. So we are looking the nature, right? So the nature has different deliveries like cooperative behavior of nature, physical behavior of nature, then the brain-based learning, then the evaluations, DNAs. So you have different, we look at the nature. Then when we come to the nature, we frame the computational paradigm. Okay, we frame the computational paradigm. What is the problem that I have to solve? we apply that to the computational paradigm. Then we apply optimization algorithm. We find out any one, either based on the problem statement, we apply SWAM, or we apply in the ANN, or we apply DNA computing, or we apply quantum computing. We apply any computing and we say that it can be solved. We frame the algorithm. Then from that, we find out the good solution to solve the problem. Okay, so the problem is solved. This is what we saw in hour one. Okay, to summarize the hour one, we saw what are the traditional computational issues. Okay, so and what are the natural things that it can solve it, then how it can be mapped as one. So in the next class, we'll see about the genetics based, the biological process, right? Thank you.